The Bad Larry, Wabi-Sabi Edition. Those of you who are into custom fine furniture and super cool design probably already know who Chris Salamone is. But just in case you don't, I'll leave a link in the card above to his channel and the video that inspired this build. What this is a side table called a Bad Larry. This piece is not built to a level of quality that you might find in an Ethan Allen store or a place like that. This is more of the working class version. It's going to have hairpin legs and sliding front doors, and that's this week's build. So let's get to it. We'll begin by breaking down this 4x4 sheet of plywood into three 15-inch wide strips. This rendition of the Bad Larry is going to be 3 feet wide at the top, so 2 of these strips should be enough for the top, bottom, and both sides. The way I'm going to install the back is using the slot and panel method like you would on a door, where the back is just free floating inside the slotted framework, and the sides and top will be the framework for the slot. And this one's going to have 2 sliding doors in the front. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slot one side of both of these on the front and the back and widen out those slots to accept a 1/4 inch plywood, which is what's going to make the sliding doors and the back. If one side of your plywood is prettier than the other, slot the ugly side. I'm going to want the final dimension of the top to be 36 inches across, so I'm going to rough it in at 36 1/4 now, and then I will lose 1/8 of an inch to each of the bevel cuts when I come back and make those later. Since this offcut is 11.5 inches tall, I'm going to let that dictate the height of the unit, and I'm going to go with 10 inches. So just like on the top, I will rough this in at 10 1/4 inches, and then I'll lose 1/8 of an inch to each bevel cut later. So the bottom of the unit is going to be 31 inches long, roughly. But I'm going to cut this for 33 inches because you never know what could happen. In the end, this will be the last piece I fit, and I will fit it to whatever the cabinet demands are. The angle for the top is 75 degrees. The way you accomplish that is by setting the blade at 37.5 degrees, taking one cut flat on the table, and the other cut will have to be clamped vertically to a special sled I'll have to make. So there are a total of 4 cuts made at 37.5 degrees, and they are the 2 ends of the bottom piece and the 2 bottom edges of the side pieces. So here's my vertical cut sled. It slides along my table saw fence, and for this to work right, this has to be 90 degrees to the table, and it's 89.95. So cutting these on the vertical sled results in a 105-degree angle, and that's what we need for the top corners of the Bad Larry. So we'll do that at both ends of the top piece and at the top ends of the side pieces. Okay, so that angle turned out pretty decent. Everything's lining up right. Okay, so the fit is looking pretty good. And the way I'm going to put this together, since I don't have a lot of real fancy clamping equipment, is I'm just going to glue and brad nail the bottom. Then I'm going to fit in the back and the doors tomorrow and fit on the top. Now the camera battery died right before I drove that brad, but see that nail popped out there? This is why when you're using a nailer of any kind, you don't want any of your body where if a nail came out like that, it might hit you. Too many times I see guys holding the work together and the nail gun's right there, and if that had happened, if I'd been holding this wrong, it would have nailed me. Okay, now I'll just let that dry overnight. Okay, so it's the next day, the bottom is all dried up, and one thing that I can see is the top board is too long. And the way I'm going to address that is one blade width at a time. I'm going to trim it and take a look at the fit. That's still about 1/2 millimeter long, but I'm going to go with it and just flex the wood to fix that. Before I get too far, I want to mark for the back. And I'm going to just draw a line inside. So from the bottom of the slot to the top of the opening is 8 1/4 inches. And then I've got 5/16 above that. I just needed about 1/8 of an inch longer. So 8 3/8 wide is how wide I'm going to cut a piece, and then I'll show you how to cut the angles. Okay, so I've ripped my 8 3/8 inch wide strip, and now for the sides, I've just turned my miter gauge to 15 degrees and I'll snip off the ends. Okay, so the glue up's looking okay. It was a little high on this corner, so I used a couple of clamps to pull it down, and it should be fine in the end. Time to let it dry. While the glue dries, I'll go ahead and make the hairpin legs. I batch these out by the dozens, and I keep them stacked up over there because they're easy to store unassembled. Then when I need a set, I just get a corner bracket and weld them on. And we sell hairpin legs for anybody that might need them for your project. They're really cheap too. Okay, so the glue up is done. Let's see if the doors fit. That's looking good. I just need to sand this and apply a finish to the front of the doors, and then wax it all. Then we'll put the legs on. Now I've got nothing to do but wait for the stain to dry. And even though it's a 102-degree day, that's going to take a little while. So there's really only one thing left to do. Watch the paint dry. Well, it's dry enough that I can install the legs. Well, that is looking all right. Now I'm just going to apply a generous coat of paste wax. So there it is, the wabi-sabi edition of the Bad Larry side table. And I want to thank Chris Salamone again for giving me his blessing on doing this build and this video. So thanks, Chris. And that's all for this week. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click up here to see my last video. Click over here to see something of mine that YouTube thinks you'll like. And have a good one.